Hi, and welcome to the Thriving and Surviving podcast. I'm your host, Amanda Markson, and I'm a mum, a wife, an entrepreneur, a coach, and most importantly, I'm someone that loves to make waves, break stigmas, and challenge beliefs. Think of this podcast as a wine and cheese night with your besties, sharing your deepest and darkest thoughts and struggles, but also learning a thing or two. So whether you're thriving or just surviving, this podcast is here to enlighten you, heighten you, and most certainly brighten you. So let's dive right in, and I'm so glad you're here. All right, welcome to season 4 of the Thriving and Surviving podcast. I'm Amanda, I'm your host. If you're new here, welcome. If you're returning, this season is going to be a little bit different. Not really educational, but entertaining. It is definitely leaning more into the wine and cheese night vibes of the podcast. But I'm going to start everything with a little bit of a life update. So as you guys know, I recently had my tummy tuck and abdominal repair surgery. So I'm going to start by talking through a little bit of that because there has been a lot of interest about it. And I'm an open book, especially with anything to do with, cosmetic surgery, plastic surgery, body image. Like, I'm very transparent in that place. I'm not going to magically pretend like I used some cream and my stitch marks disappeared or anything like that. I decided in my last prep that this was something that I really wanted to do. For those of you that are watching the video of this, I can get a photo popped up just so you can sort of see a little bit more what I'm talking about. I didn't overly post it on my socials, my loose skin, but I didn't hide it either. But I suppose it just wasn't something that I showcased a lot of. But I did have the leaner that I got in my prep, the more loose skin I had. And it wasn't, when I'm sitting, off season and I've got that little bit more body fat, especially in that lower tummy area, you didn't really notice it so much. But when I get lean for competing, it is very evident that, I stretched the F out when I was pregnant, which, look, that's exactly what our bodies are designed to do. It was not something that bothered me. Like, it was either that or split open during my pregnancies, right? So it was fine. And I mean, the stretch marks never bothered me. That wasn't really a thing. It was just sort of the loose skin. And I decided in my prep, that's fine. I'll push through this prep. I know my stomach's not going to look ideally how I would like it to look for stage, but that's okay because that's outside of my control. But the next time I compete, I do want to have corrected this just so that, when I'm grinding through my prep, my end result is, I'm not going to say something I'm proud of because I was very proud last time, very proud, despite, it not being perfect. But just so I'm able to hit the caliber of physique that I'm aiming for. So I decided I was going to do it then. I reached out to Dr. Sharp, was who I went through in Brisbane. I researched a couple of different plastic surgeons. I'm in a few of the forums online. I did a bit of research. I'm not going to say I went full research, but I did do a bit of research. I felt like I liked the look of his results. So when I went to book in with him, because I'd had pregnancies, they said, look, you need to go get ultrasounds done of your abdominal walls and your muscles just so we can see if there's any repairs needed. Now, I didn't actually think I needed any repairs. I'd had my checks done postpartum. They'd sort of said, you've only got a tiny little bit of separation. I think they said 1.5 centimeters was what they'd said. Not something that needs fixing or anything like that. I do get, how do I word this? I did find though that no matter how much I trained my core, I just couldn't get it back strong the way that it was before I had kids. And I train core, I train very hard. And I just wasn't really getting there. I did notice that when I train, I would get a little bit of abdominal doming where you've kind of got this gap and it sort of domes out a little bit. And I was kind of like it shouldn't be doing that. So I was sort of very conscious about the movements that I did as not to exasperate that. But when I went and got the ultrasound, they said, you've actually got 3 centimeters of separation. So we will do an abdominal repair, which I was like, part of me was like, great. And they said, your core is going to be so much stronger. Like it's going to improve with your training, like the back pain that you get because your back's taking more of a load because your abdominals aren't engaging. Like it's going to help correct that. I was like, cool, like great. But then I did have the added, okay, sounds like a bit bigger of a recovery now that I'm not just, removing some skin and sort of closing it back up. We're actually stitching your abdominals together like an internal corset, basically. And they were really great in mentally preparing me, I suppose. It definitely wasn't like a sales pitch where they talked me into getting this procedure. They were very transparent, which I really appreciated. And to be honest, it was less than what they mentally prepped me for, which was great. But, they'd said that, it might be hard to breathe properly for a couple of months because, everything's tighter and pushed back the way that it's supposed to be. And I didn't know, like a little bit maybe. And like this, I'm only sitting at 6 weeks now and I'm cruising around fine. But, maybe in like that first couple of weeks, I probably wasn't taking as deep a breath. It's hard to tell because my anxiety's a little bit up there. And when I'm really anxious, I also don't breathe properly. So maybe I noticed it like a little bit. Pain wise, which is probably the biggest question I've been asked is, how much did it hurt? Which is a valid fear. Like I suppose I actually wasn't afraid of the pain, come to think of it. Pain doesn't scare me. Going under general anesthetics scares me. Half because obviously, there's risks. With every surgery, there are risks. And, when it is, they were also doing a hernia repair as well. But when you're getting a surgery that's, elective, I suppose, it's not, it is considered medically necessary. Mine was with the abdominal repair, which I'll get into that in a minute. But I suppose there was definitely this degree of guilt maybe where I'm like, oh my God, imagine if something happened and then I never got to see my kids again, all for this. So I definitely had that playing in my mind that sort of made me nervous. But a big part of my fear being under general anesthetic is actually coming from a sexual assault place where the idea of being unconscious in a room of people I don't know that have access to my body, that freaks me out. That is where majority of my anxiety comes from in any sort of surgical procedure, in all of them, even, life-threatening, not that I've had life-threatening surgery, but that still scares me. So I definitely had a lot to sort of get over that. And that's where I really did the surgical team put me quite at ease. Dr. Sharp was great. He's got really good banter. And so that sort of eased my nerves a little bit. The anesthetist that I had, he was good value. And I was like, okay, this is bringing me down a couple of notches, which is great. And the nurses were beautiful. So that definitely made me feel better. But that was actually a big part of my anxiety. The pain, I'm like, whatever, I can do pain. I think I had this whole the surgery can't hurt me more than my baby daddy did kind of mentality. So pain I wasn't afraid of. But talking about the pain, for me, it wasn't bad. If labor was 10, and for those of you that haven't had labor, it hurts. I was pretty much having out of body experiences with Callie. I was in so much pain. It was majority of the time, maybe a 2 out of 10. The sorest it was, and with most surgeries, it's not day of, you've still got a lot of the numbing agents. It's normally that second day. So that second day I was maybe a 3 to 4, where I didn't take endone the whole time. I had the option there. I didn't feel like I needed it, and I've never had endone before. And to be honest, my time in hospital, so I spent 5 nights in hospital, because it was medically necessary. I could stay in hospital under my private health, which was great. And to be medically necessary, it's 3 centimeters or more. So I'd qualified for that. So I got, some private health rebates, and I got a little bit of a Medicare rebate, which was great. dropped the price about $2,000 off between those two, which was good. So out of pocket, it was still about 10. I didn't get any liposuction. I was open to it. I thought I was going to actually get liposuction because in my mind, I was like, yeah, like, and when I had the consult, Dr. Sharp was really good. He was very honest. He was like, look, you don't have a lot of fat in the areas that we would liposuction, which like I didn't, like sort of through the top of my abs and my flanks. He's like, don't get me wrong. Like I could take your money and do it. He's like, but the cost, the difference that you would probably experience, he's like, I just don't think it would be worth you spending the money on it. And I was like, oh, like for me, like I appreciate the honesty. It definitely wasn't trying to sell it to me just to get my money. And I was like, I respect that. So I was like, okay, if it's not going to make much of a difference, I really don't have the money to spend anyway. So I opted to not get any liposuction. I have been told that a lot of the pain associated with these procedures, like liposuction, is actually the really painful part. So maybe mine wasn't as painful because I actually didn't get any liposuction. And then, I didn't access the endone. I was just taking Panadol, anti-inflammatories, and then Palexia, which is sort of like a long-acting pain med that I took morning and night. But honestly, when I was in hospital, that is possibly the most relaxed I've been in years. I just sort of sat there. I got to work. The food was great. I was at Greenslopes Hospital. It was amazing. I got heaps of work done. And like, that was another reason why I didn't want to have the endone, because I've never had it before. Bad experiences, obviously, with addiction around that with ex-partner. So like, I was just like, if I don't need it, I don't want to put it in my body. And I've got so much mental clarity right now doing all of this work. Like, I don't really want to feel zonked out anyway. So didn't opt for that, but honestly didn't need it. I knew that my new belly button was going to end up in my tattoo. And so before I was going into the operating theater, Dr. Sharp, he mapped out, where they were going to be removing and where the incisions were going to be on me. And he sort of said to me, he's like, your sternum tattoo isn't actually dead center. I was like, oh, okay. And he's like, I said, I'm pretty sure my belly button's going to end up in it. He's like, do you know what? Like, I actually think you're right. It is actually going to be in there. And I'm like, look, can you just do the placement of my belly button central to my tattoo? Because that's going to look the most symmetrical, even if it's not actually symmetrical. He's like, yeah, no worries. I got you. My hip tattoo, I knew he would be cutting into that. I didn't even bother mentioning it. I knew he'd be cutting into it. And I was just, in my mind, I was like, look, if it ends up, it's like a flower, big lotus. I'm like, look, if that ends up mangled, whatever, I will just tattoo over it. Not a big deal. Lo and behold, he actually like relined up my petals and like it looks fine. Like I can just leave it, even though there's actually a section that's been cut out of it. The way that he's put me back together, I was blown away. When I had my post-op appointment, the nurse was like, what did you think of your tattoos? He like spent so much time trying to get it perfect for you. And I was like, crushed it. I'm really, really happy. I had drains, so a drain in each groin that came out into like these little bags. I also had a catheter in. I hate catheters. Oh, I hate them. I hate them so much. So I pushed to just remove it as soon as possible. And the nurse was like, if we take the catheter out, you're going to have to like get up out of bed every time you need to pee. That is fine. I do not care. I would rather the pain of getting up and going and peeing than having a catheter in. So they took it out for me the next morning. And I mean, I'd already gotten up and started moving by then anyway. Personal opinion here, I'm big on, obviously it depends what the surgery is, but I like to get my body moving. I feel like if I just stay in bed and avoid moving, my body almost seizes up and I catastrophize and it makes it worse. Whereas I feel like my body just responds really well from moving. So I was getting up, not a lot, and like, wandering to my door. I mean, if you saw my Instagram, like I was doing a little TikTok dance stuff on there. Like I got up and I just got moving a little bit. Nothing crazy. I did spend majority of my day in bed the whole time I was in hospital, but I did, every sort of 3 hours get up and just move into the corridor, cut a lap, go back to bed, keep working. And on the second day, I had the physio come to be like, okay, we're going to show you how to get out of bed. And I was like, I've already been doing that. I had a couple of people that had C-sections send me through previously, like, this is the roll, you get out of bed sideways, very similar. And look, when I was moving and getting in and out of bed, yeah, it was painful. But I found when I was just sitting still in bed, no pain at all. It was just if I, moved or coughed or sneezed, that hurt. I mean, that still hurts now 6 weeks later. If I cough or sneeze, it feels, now we're at a level of pain where it just feels like I've done a really hectic ab workout and you sneeze and it's like DOMS. That's sort of how it feels now. But initially, a sneeze felt like being kicked in the stomach with steel cap boots. Like it hurt. So my fear of sneezing and coughing was high. There was one day in hospital where I got the tickle in my throat. And I don't know if you've ever been sitting a uni exam and you get the tickle and you're like, no, not today, Satan. And you're trying so hard to keep it in. Your eyes start streaming. That was me in hospital. So then I was like, nurses, quick. And I think I chugged like nearly 2 liters of water because I was like, I can't cough. Like it's going to hurt so bad to try and get this tickle away. But, other than that, it wasn't that bad. The physio came. I was like, look, I'm already moving. She's like, cool. Like, showed her me moving. She's like, cool. Don't need to see you again. Not a drama, which was good. When I was coming home, I really wanted both drains taken out. And they were like, Dr. Sharp likes leaving them in. It just helps, all of that fluid come out. I was like, I hate them. Like, I don't like being hooked up to things. So they ended up sort of meeting me in the middle. They took one drain out and I still had to come home with one drain. I had to monitor how much output was going into it to let them know at my next appointment because some people need the drains for, up to 6 weeks apparently. So I had one taken out at 5 days, the other one taken out at my next appointment, which I think might have been around 9 days, maybe 10 days post. And I got it taken out then. And in my head, I was like, if you don't take this out, I'm going to remove it myself. I was so afraid of the kids pulling on it and it's like stitched to your skin. And like, I just trying to have a shower. And I actually bought, for anyone doing this, I actually bought this cute little like belt from Amazon that you can stick your drains in and like clip them to, which I found helpful. So I wasn't always just carrying it around. I could kind of clip it around my waist and just sort of cruise around the house. Callie actually came home from kindy one day and she's like, I did a picture of you with your dangly thing. And there's like me and my drain. But they were really good. My output, I think, was about 20 mils, which I then had to empty into the bathroom sink of a morning, which I thought it would have a smell, but it didn't. So nonetheless, still kind of gross. I couldn't drive for 2 weeks, which was okay. Pushing a shopping trolley was painful for that month and I knew that was going to be painful. Similar, I've had my appendix out back in, 2017, and just the abdominal work required to steer a shopping trolley, I was not prepared for. I'm not supposed to lift more than 2 kilos up until now. I actually had my 6-week post-op appointment yesterday, and now I've been cleared to, return to light exercise and that sort of thing. But as you guys have probably seen me whinge about on socials, I ended up getting 100% care of the girls at 3 weeks post-op, which I was really disappointed with because I was trying to recover. I was limited. It's not willingness to parent, but I'm physically can't lift them. I can't get them in and out of the car. I can't get them in and out of the bath. I can't pick them up for safety reasons. Like there was a whole range of things where I was like, this is not ideal. But when you're a single mom, I suppose, like it is what it is. Like you don't have the option of just palming them off to someone else. So I made it work. I did have a lot of support, like friends and family helped a lot. I had, so Brent, he brought me home from hospital. So that is my ex-partner. We're still very close. Not the baby daddy, not ex-husband. Partner from last year. He brought me home from hospital and looked after me for the first couple of days, which I was really grateful for because I was like, you're vulnerable and I needed a bit of help with showering. And I was like, well, he's seen me naked a million times, so this is fine. As opposed to my dad was also staying and I was like, I do not want you helping me shower. And so my dad was staying because he was sort of managing the kids while Brent was able to sort of help me. So my dad stayed that whole week. And then the next week, my mum flew down from Townsville and she stayed with me for a week. And my sister stayed with me to help with the kids. And then my dad came back for the next week after that. And then, at that month mark, I was like, I feel like I'm at a point where I can't, and I'm still at this point. I want to go take the girls out somewhere this weekend, but I can't do it by myself yet because if something happens, I still can't carry them both. And I feel like I need to be able to do that. If they're both having meltdowns and I need to do the mum carry where you've got both those kids kicking, screaming, I can't do that. Or I could, but I've still got a lot of internal sutures that haven't healed yet. And I don't really want to end up setting myself backwards in my recovery just because I'm trying to take on too much. So anything like that, I'm just bringing a friend with me just so I've got that extra support and extra set of hands, in doing the hard parts. But for the most part, we're doing okay. The girls I've been lifting Chili in and out of the bath, even though I shouldn't be, but I mean, that one's tricky, but getting in and out of the car now, like they can do that bit by themselves. So that's been a little bit of a relief. I did have Chili jump at me off a trampoline at probably 3 weeks post and I had to catch her in the air and I was like, it's like your abs being shocked. But other than that, it has gone really well. I'm really happy with the scar. So the scar care routine they've got me doing is I have surgical tape on it during the week. I will take that off though while I'm filming this just so I can show you guys what it's looking like. But I've got that on during the week, and then on the weekends, which is pretty much the weekend now anyway, so I'll probably just leave it off. I'm rubbing in, it's this, I think it's called Stratamark maybe, and it's like a scar cream, and I've got to sort of be quite vigorous with it, and it's just to try and stop scar tissue formation underneath, just so the scar itself is quite movable and it doesn't sort of go like hard or rigid is sort of the goal, to just keep that movement there. I also have been getting lymphatic massage, which has been amazing. I started before the surgery. I did one before the surgery, and then I did weekly up until like this week. And then I'm doing another one in like 2 weeks' time. And it made a big difference of just sort of moving the swelling and inflammation down. Because when I first, I was swollen. So like you were like skinny, but I was like a barrel. And I was like, wow, I had ab definition before this surgery. And now I'm like this firm looking barrel. So only in the last week, I feel like I'm seeing a little bit of definition coming back through my stomach, which is great. I'm honestly so happy with it though. Like I'm so happy with it. People are like, oh, you're going to tattoo over the scar. I don't think you're really going to see it, to be honest. It's not really an area that I've ever wanted to really tattoo, I suppose. So, I mean, probably not. Would I do it again? Absolutely, in a heartbeat. I wish some of the logistics had panned out a little bit differently, but I am so glad that I have done this. I'm so excited for my next prep and sort of like with my new stomach. I'm also, I'll tell you what I am disappointed about though. I want to get my tubes tied, and because it's keyhole, I don't want to put scars in my new perfect tummy. So I kind of wish that I'd actually done that before this surgery. I just didn't think of it, I suppose. I thought, I was also under the impression that if I just got an ablation done, which obviously has no cutting through, they just do that through the entry that's already there. I actually thought that made you infertile, but it turns out it doesn't. So I would actually have to get that plus my tubes tied. So now I'm kind of just sort of sitting back and sitting with that for a minute. I've got all my referrals there and I've got my appointments booked. But yeah, I'm just sort of sitting with that. I wouldn't get the surgery until probably end of next year anyway, just because, this is still an area that is healing. I'm not going to try and do surgery on top of surgery. But yeah, that is something that I am looking at doing in the future. But what else can I possibly tell you about? I've sort of gone over the price, the pain. I'll show you what it looks like. And I'm wearing a compression bandage still. I've still got it on at the moment. They have said I don't have to wear it all the time now, but I did have to wear it full time up until 6 weeks. So I'll just shimmy up a little bit and I'll show you what it looks like. So for those of you listening, you're obviously not going to see much. So this is the new tummy. You can see I've got the surgical tape across here. My belly button is in my sternum tattoo, which originally sat, up here. And they've obviously done the incision. They peel everything back, and then they pull it all back down. And I've got my abdominal repair obviously underneath. I will take off this. Oh, sensation. So I'll show you where. Oh, that's. I am still numb, mainly through the center, which doesn't bother me. And look, it probably won't actually return the feeling, which is okay. But at the moment, so I can feel through here and the sides, but a little bit here, nothing here, sensation-wise. But you can see as well that I can sort of see the little bit of definition is coming back through again, because before that, I didn't have, not that I don't have hips to brag about anyway, but you can sort of see that it comes in a little bit and I have a little bit of hip as opposed to just being super boxy and around the top. But I love it. I am very happy. I'll leave that off actually for a little bit now, the compression bandage. I don't have another appointment until I think they do a 12-week appointment with Dr. Sharp, and he'll have a look over everything. But I can't complain. No complications, no infections, no. I had to put betadine in my belly button and blow dry it every time I had a shower for the first, I reckon it was probably for a month. And Callan was like, why are you doing that? Sitting there with my hairdryer. I was like, I don't even know how to explain this to you. But the girls have been good. Chili's a little sweetheart. The whole time she's like, Mum, are you okay? Are you okay? Can I help you? And Callie, on the other hand, every time we go somewhere, she's like, my mum's got a cut on her belly. Mum, get your cut out. And I'm like, there is two kinds of kids and I have one of each. But they've been really great. Very grateful for all of the family support I've sort of had through it, but that's sort of been, a lot, but that's been, I suppose, the last 6 weeks. Other life update is I do have 100% care at the moment, which has been, I think I had a week of, I'm not going to say spiraling, but it wasn't even panic, despair. I don't know. Sadness, when I say I don't want 100% care, it's not because I don't want to have my kids 100% of the time. It's because I genuinely think kids need both parents. And because I believe that, I've never wanted 100% care because I really do want them to have a relationship with their dad. I want their dad in their life. I want him showing up. I want him setting this amazing benchmark for them on how a man treats a woman. Because they've got a lot of really incredible women in their lives, heaps. And they do have some males as well, like Brent and my dad are great. But I just think the relationship kids have with their parents is really sacred. And I think the relationship little girls have with their dads is really important. So I have genuinely done everything I can in my mental capacity to foster that as much as I physically can. I really have. So when I say I don't want 100% care, it's not because I don't want them all the time, because I do. I love having my girls. I have found it very challenging with work because where I'm living at the moment, and I still do shifts at the fire department, travel's challenging. It's just not challenging, to be honest. It's almost impossible. But he is not, I won't go into details. There's certain aspects, I'm very open, but there's certain things that I won't go into too much. But he is not in a place to have full-time care. That's all I'll say on it, I suppose. I actually do have a podcast episode with Mallory that is in this season, which is, we do talk a lot more relationships and mum stuff, but she was actually seeing the Tommy when him and I first met, and I haven't seen her since then, since I was naked in a bathroom and she's screaming in a house. So like that podcast episode is really entertaining when she reached out and I was like, let's unpack it. Like, let's unpack that whole scenario on a podcast. Sounds great. So like tune in for that one because that one will be entertaining. But yeah, I have got 100% care. So I've actually hired an au pair from Italy. So she is going to be starting in September, which will be great. It will mean that I've got a lot more flexibility, being able to go to 5 shifts. She'll be able to do a little bit of drop off and pickups. If I have a night shift, she's obviously going to be here. It is a scary thing for me personally to navigate. I struggle really badly leaving my children with anybody. I micromanage. I'm over the top, but I mean, not without reason to be, right? Like, there's not really room for error and the world is still a scary, dangerous place. So I am very protective in that space. So I've done lots of video chats with her. I've met her family, like feeling pretty good about it. She is quite young. So I'm actually organizing a video chat with her family and my parents as well, just so like they're like not anxious about where their young daughter is traveling over the world to, stay in the stranger's house. But I think she'll be a really nice addition. I got like a really good, like a warm energy, like a good gut feeling there. So I'm hoping that pans out well. And then obviously gearing up, got athletes going into season B/C. So we've got a lot happening in September anyway. So like that will be handy, her being here and getting her across everything with the kids. Oh, and then I've also obviously been talking on socials. It's looking like Callie has autism. And after they said it, I was debriefing it with Maddie and we were both like, how did we miss this? And particularly Maddie, I mean, I'm going to put it more on you, Maddie, because she works in mental health. So she was like, oh my God, like, how did I not see a lot of these signs? Because I think her and I both kind of like assumed it was just ADHD, because she is very like short attention span, jumping from thing to thing, like, and there's a lot of, emotional regulation things that also come under ADHD, some sensory things that come under ADHD as well. And I mean, they have said that it is likely she's got ADHD on top and she's both. But I suppose for me, like I haven't had kids before I had Callie. So I haven't really got anything to compare to. And, kids are all so different. But to be honest, I think I'm getting a lot of questions about what the signs were and what the process has been. So I'm actually going to do that as a separate podcast episode where I will just unpack all things that, I'm finding out myself for the first time and experiencing, and like how we're managing and coping, because there's honestly so much in that. I will be talking for another 30 minutes just on that. So I will roll that into another one, but it has definitely added like an extra degree of challenge when, I am navigating these big complex behaviors with her by myself whilst recovering from major surgery. So a lot has been happening, but again, it is in moments like that where I do get very grateful for my support network. Like I really, really do. So all of my friends and family that have showed up for me during, and even just people that have messaged in and been like, you got this. I'm like, do I though? But I do really, really appreciate it. So I'm going to wrap this one up, but thank you for tuning in for another season, bit of a surgery update, bit of an indication on what is else to come. In this season, I've got an episode with Maddie where we're going to be talking about breakups, because I did have to kind of break up with someone, I suppose, that sort of sparked that podcast, because that was a little whole thing in itself. I've then obviously got the one with Mallory, which is wild. That was so big, honestly. We've broken it into 2 parts. I've got Emma on the podcast. So she was my business partner when I had trained with the girls, and we unpack things from things we learned in business together all the way down to unpacking the fact she's only ever had one sexual partner. So it's interesting because obviously kind of rare. And then I'm going to be, as I said, going into all of the things I'm learning about autism and ADHD diagnoses with Callie. So welcome back for another